Alrighty, so yes, here we are. So I've been trying to do some reclaiming of some of the lost material from the crash. So when my hard drive crashed on me, I lost some of the stuff we did. Now, some of the stuff we've done this year, I did a round of story generation based off of, I think, some books, but mostly old movies and TV series. And I say old, I mean relatively old. 80s and 90s was really where I think I was focusing most of that. Comic books, movies, and TV. So one of the things that I did for that was I built a list. I'm trying to figure out where I left that tablet, because I'm pretty sure. No, I think I wrote that. That sucks. I think I wrote that down on a PDF, or not a PDF, a text file on my laptop. Because I had a decent sized list of options. Now I do know that we did Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. We did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Teenage Ninja Turtles, what was the other one? I think we did Ghostbusters, I think, right? But I mentioned it in another forum, and so I can potentially pull some of that up and see. It says League of Gentlemen, and then we have two story options for that one, and then I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was the Raven Sisters Detective Agency, Jurassic Park. Okay, that one was a cyberpunk one, and then Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then Ghostbusters. So we did League of Gentlemen, and then we had Ghostbusters, and Jurassic Park, Now I'm almost certain we came up with two ideas for Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Was that everything? So League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Ninja Turtles, Jurassic Park, Buffy. And I'm sure there were a few others after that, because I'm pretty sure we did more than a week. I don't think we did 2 weeks, but we might have gotten close. So Buffy was teenage girl interrupts a summoning of a demon and has a demon bound to her. Teenage Ninja Turtles was sort of like The Fly, a scientist working for an organization tries to build a piece of alien technology into a teleportation booth and mixes the genetics of the test ravens, or crows or corvids, and her own genetics, and she ends up becoming a harpy, and the eggs, I guess, is where I wanted to go with that. That's what I remember, was wanting the eggs to be what she tries to transport. And that's how they develop as hybrid human corvids. And they grow up into essentially triplets who disguise themselves by wearing plague doctor costumes and solving mysteries like a Sherlock Holmes. And then there's the sort of additional angle of the organization out to basically somebody who considers himself Odin is trying to capture and convert the corvid triplets, and he has 2 corvids of his own based off of the idea of Odin's 2 ravens. So I do remember that one fairly well. The Buffy one I vaguely recall. The Jurassic Park, I'm trying to remember. I believe that one was a cyberpunk setting where instead of going to an actual park, they created a virtual reality. Yeah, that was the one where we were talking about it, and you wanted villainous characters or like serial killers or something like that as the attraction. I wanted to go a slightly different round where what you recreate within, and it's not a bad idea necessarily, but you recreate the virtual reality realm and you create AI characters and you build it around fiction. And it's sort of Westworld like. But in this sense, what I'm going for is the world you're creating is a fantasy setting, and magic is a way to hack the system. And so you have one of these AI learn enough magic that they're able to hack into the brain of one of the people in the AI system and sort of swap them so that the mind of the person is left in a digital character, and the AI, the villain character, the magic user, takes over the body of the person on the outside world, and they get out of the virtual reality and try to learn how to function in the outside world. But because they learned enough magic, they also still think it is magic, but it's hacking. So they're hacking into computer systems to try to set free other AI. Or did we go with the set free other AI or try to duplicate itself? I'm not sure which direction I went with that one. I'll have to go backtrack and watch the video for it. I feel like there was more to the Buffy episode, and I just can't remember what it was. We came up with 2 options for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. One of them was superheroes? Hang on, what did we have? The 2 that I wrote down for one of the other sites that I wrote this out on was okay. So this is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, 2 ideas. Idea number 2 was Doc Savage from the old pulp stories assembles some of the world's most gifted pulp heroes to protect the world from conspiracies and secret dangers. The invisible Scarlett O'Neil, the Ghost, Dick Tracy, the Shadow, the Avenger, Vera Ray. I also had a sort of a note here where it's diesel punk Avengers style storytelling with League of the Extraordinary Gentlemen's inspiration. And Doc and his gang are like Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos. All right, so that was really just trying to reboot or redo an Avengers style story using the old pulp heroes that aren't necessarily superheroes. And they're protecting the world against conspiracies and secret dangers. So sort of spies and that kind of thing. The first idea I had for that was, I wrote this out in a, oh yeah, I remember this now. This does have lead backs to the Island of Dr. Moreau. So Edward Prendick, which is the main character, I believe, from Island of Dr. Moreau, in Near Solitude in the Countryside, tells his story on his deathbed to a rare guest, a man talking with extraordinary people around the world in this time advancement of steampunk technology and development that are changing the world. His name is the Comte de Saint-Germain, the alchemist, alive and healthy thanks to the elixir of life that he has learned to create through his mastery of the alchemical arts. Hearing of Prednick's account of Dr. Moreau's island, the Count sets out to find the poor creatures left there on the island. Using his skills on those few remaining to heal and revive them, he brings a small group of chimeras to the human world to give them another chance and to bring them into the culture that they can learn and adapt to. The chimeras look nearly completely human, sometimes only having a few features that mark them as different. But with talents of their former animal forms, they are students of the Count's School for Extraordinary Students, learning about our world while sometimes protecting and saving the people who might fear and hate them if they were to know who and what they truly were. If League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was Justice League only Victorian, then these are X-Men only steampunk world. So that was really where we went with some of this. So I do kind of like the, it's weird that the two favorites so far of the ones I've been able to recover, I need to go back and take a listen to the video where we list off some of the other options. But the two favorites so far are League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the Island of Dr. Moreau version, and then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Corvid people. This is very anthropomorphic animals. So both of those work. I mean, the Jurassic Park one has some interest for me. The Buffy one, it doesn't hold me as much as I want it to. It doesn't sort of catch my attention as much. The Ghostbusters, I don't remember the Ghostbusters one. Ghostbusters was, I think we switched genres on it. I want to say it was a science fiction. We played a little bit around with the idea of where you catch the spirits. They're not spirits. They're something else. I can't remember. I'll have to go back and try to watch the videos that I recorded. How many were there? I'm very close to straining out the processor on this laptop, trying to do too many things at once. But I want to see if I can go back and look at my list. and see how many we did. So YouTube Studio. Go. Come on, come on, come on. So I should have at least titled some of them. I think as we got towards the end of recording them, I at least named what the ones we were working on were. Yeah, videos. It's really straining it. I hope you're not freezing and getting glitchy. Live videos. Come on, dude. Shouldn't take 2 minutes to load that. All right, so we had Runcible Foods, non-planning photography for game art, Tiswaritis. That's not my plans. Map making software, Swedish fish and cookies and cream French toast. A lot of taste tests hidden away in there that haven't been revealed yet. Stargate. Okay, Stargate was one we explored. And there's a part of me that wants to say, like, okay, so remember how I oftentimes talk about, okay, brainstorming a Stargate-inspired superhero storyverse. Stargate SG-1. Yeah, that's, I think we did 3 nights of Stargate stuff. I will definitely have to go back and listen to those, but I've oftentimes stated that if you gave multiple authors the same source, you'll get different stories. So there's a part of me that kind of wants to just see what I can come up with for these without resorting to watching the previous videos, just to see, kind of demonstrate how different they are. Okay, creative story ideas inspired by Terminator and Roger Rabbit too. Okay, Terminator and Roger Rabbit. Okay, so, oh, Blade Runner. We did that one too? Yeah, we did a fair amount, didn't we? It might be fun just to redo each of those and come up with something completely different and new. Classic TV and movies. Don't know what that one is. Buffy. And was there another one? Okay. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Okay, so I've got rewriting movie ideas, rewriting movies and books, making story ideas inspired by other content. I think we also rehashed like Superman or something like that for one of them. So I will have to look back at those. We still running? Okay, that's probably because I can hear the processor revving up because I'm using one thing and still recording and live streaming on another tab. Too many tabs open already as it is, which is just because this is my primary. I don't have 2 computers to play with right now. It's going to take I think probably a week or more before the other ones arrive. But it might be fun to go back through Blade Runner, Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park, Terminator, Stargate, Buffy, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I'm sure there were a few others, and I'm pretty sure I have a master list that was at least 20 other story ideas that I listed off at one point. So I'm going to have to go back through and watch those. But it would be fun to redo them in a whole different style, just not using what we already had. So I will not review them tonight. I might not review them for the rest of the week and a half coming up until I get my new computers, because I don't want to spoil getting something different entirely from each of these settings. So I will do that. I will not review those videos yet. I guess we got a new project for the next 2 weeks. But the other thing I wanted to work on tonight and discuss was reworking the setting for my role-playing game. And I mean, there's some flavor aspect of some of the new choices that are harder to explain without going more into story. So one of the things that I'm doing in my setting, I have the gnomes, the fae, the dwarves, the humans, and then I have the puka, hags. I might rename the puka. It's technically a mythological term, but it's hard to take seriously. The hags isn't what I want to name that group, because hags is based off of the Dungeons and Dragons version of hags, where what I want to actually use is some of that flavor, but not gender specific, and not using some of the mechanics that the hags use in the setting. So what I want is that sort of creepy, not quite human, magical other being who's sort of a power broker, a power behind changes, and the dangerous bargain to be struck working with them in any way. I like that sense of these swamp-dwelling magic users with a sort of a not necessarily evil, but bargain strikers with whom you never really want to strike a bargain because it'll benefit them and potentially be catastrophic for you. Now, I want them to be male and female as well, not just the female hag. In D&D, the hags are all female, and they reproduce by stealing children, eating them, and within a certain period of time of eating the children, they birth a doppelganger of that child, and that child is then set where it can be rescued, and that child is raised by the family of the child they ate as that child. Nobody knows that it's not that child, but on its 13th birthday, it transforms into a monstrous hag that slaughters, kills, and potentially eats all of its family in the village it lives in. That's decidedly way more evil than I want it to be, and it's not as pure a concept of a race of being. I want something more along the lines of a little bit of like the swamp thing, or a little bit of like the evil witch who lives in the forest in Hansel and Gretel. A little bit of that stuff. But overall, what you have is just a morally gray, almost like a mafia boss. Like, they can do you a favor, but when they do you a favor, you're kind of owned at that point. And they're planners. They set things out in time frames where you can't think ahead of them. They will have you covered all the way through. But I also want to make them not necessarily evil, like they're going to ask for your firstborn or some stupid thing like that. It's a little bit more of like they're playing their own game. I guess one of the best examples I can think of comes from science fiction. In Dune, there's the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood. It's a sort of a, I don't want to say nun, an order of nuns, Reverend Mothers, who have sort of organized. They have a sort of a script that they're following to manipulate the universe to their own ends. And they sort of rent themselves out to seats of power. And they use those seats of power to steer the course of events in the universe, but also help the petty emperors and rulers feel like they're also gaining something from having this sisterhood, this Reverend Mother in their service on a regular basis. And that to me is more of what I want to do, but with a little bit more of that goblin-y swamp dweller creature tone to it. And so like the male version of it would be like a Grendel or something like that, where in mythology you have those ogres, I guess is sort of what I'm thinking of. But they would still be part of this organization, this network of manipulative, power brokering, special skill set, magic user. That's sort of what I'm going for with the hags. The other thing that I would say, like the puka is a little bit different from the mythological puka, but the troll, I use the term troll because that's what I want to use. But D&D trolls are, in a lot of sense, the D&D trolls are a lot more like the hags that I want to do. The D&D trolls have a tendency to be almost like if you crossed a frog or salamander with a caveman. And so you cut their limbs off, they regrow limbs. They have this lumpy, rubbery hide that doesn't stay hurt. It'll heal itself. The only things that can damage a troll in D&D are fire and acid. And you could literally behead a troll, and when you leave the body without burning it, there's a good chance that it'll regrow a new head. So they're Deadpool, they're Wolverine. So that's the D&D troll. That is more along the lines of what I want to do for the hags. And I have to find a better name for that group. I was looking at a waterfaring race. So Fomorians are a supernatural race in Irish mythology. They are often portrayed as hostile and monstrous beings who come from under the sea or the earth. And I think I'm potentially going to go with them because they're usually referred to as almost being like ogres, but they come from the water. So they have a lot in common with what I want to do. That's for the hags. Now, the trolls in D&D mythology, like I said, are essentially humanoid salamanders. And that's not really where I want them to go. If you look at mythology, trolls are different than that. Trolls are varied. There are some trolls, I think Frozen had trolls in it. They were these little, they look like rocks when they curl up on themselves, and they tumble around, and they look sort of like a cross between dwarves and Ewoks. And that's That's what some of the trolls in Frozen look like. But there's also trolls refer to giant beings of bestial style. So they can be taller than a house with tusks and ram horns. They can be super varied in appearance. And some of the greatest illustrations of trolls have them looking sort of like giant humans with big bulbous noses and sort of like a stupid demeanor, but not necessarily ugly. Very kind of, I don't want to say First Nations or Native American, but they wear leathers with patterning on them. Very Inuit, Eskimo, a little bit of Aboriginal qualities to them, where they're a Stone Age population of tribal communities, and they're not necessarily malicious or evil. In some senses, they are not malicious or evil. And that's sort of one of the keys I want to go with going forward in this setting is there's a tendency for the civilized people to see those savages as monstrous, potentially evil and dangerous and child eaters. They don't do any of that. And they have their own ways, their own cultures. You just don't see it from the civilized culture's perspective. They're like the way that Imperial England handled some of the, what was it, like the Zulu, like that kind of sense of, okay, so it's so alien that they can't see it or necessarily respect it as a culture because they're just unable to see it. But that doesn't mean those people do not have a culture and do not have they're not evil. And there's no indicator that they would be evil. They're just too foreign for somebody else to understand. And I kind of want to encourage that mindset for the non-nomoid races in my setting. But where I want to go with dealing with the setting tonight is also dealing with the fact that in that setting, I have established 2 new first mothers, one of which has to be a new world. So basically, my setup I've built for this was originally to have 3 first mothers that were going to be the first mothers of the 3 different types of beings: the Boreans, the Nomoids, and the Mythics. I've also expanded that to include the primordials, so the elementals and the animals and the plants, as a separate category. And so that's 4. So I need a 4th first mother. And I have 2 names to work from, but there's a secret 5th first mother that I want to do. And the reason this works out this way is I sort of want to, I think I've mentioned it before, I want to do the universe within a universe within a universe situation where universe A is inside of universe B, but universe B is inside of universe A. And so what that means is in this design, I have the first mothers in the Empyrean realm, the base setting, and when characters are banished or cast out of the Empyrean realm, they fall into the vestiges, the slivers of themselves that were beings in another world. And those other worlds are within the first mothers. So basically, Empyrean realm has 4 first mothers. Each of those first mothers contains a world. And each of those worlds contains a first mother that contains the Empyrean realm. I don't know if that makes any sense, but the basic idea being that, say, we'll take the Empyrean realm. Inside Empyrean realm is Olean, the first mother Olean. And inside Olean is the world of Olean. And on the world of Olean is Dunia. And Dunia is a first mother. And Dunia on Olean contains the Empyrean realm, which is, so it's like, wow, okay, yeah, it's a little trippy, but it works. And it helps with a little bit of what I was trying to do with the transition between worlds, where the idea you want to work towards is when you are banished from the Empyrean realm, you are trying to find a way back to the Empyrean realm. You can transition from Olean to Orta to Sierra, which are the 3 worlds that I've already established. But finding the way back to the Empyrean realm is much harder. And that's partly because from Empyrean realm down into Olean, there's going to be the 4 first mothers on Olean are also going to have equivalents on Sierra and Orta. But the first mother for the Empyrean realm will only have 1. So there are 5 first mothers on every world. Only one of them would be the path back to the Empyrean realm. And if you can set them up in such a way where it's near impossible to find or get to that first mother, Dunia, then they have to transition to another world where it might be easier to find a way to the Empyrean realm. Now, the way I want to sort of establish the first mothers in the Empyrean realm is that they are not truly immortal. They are long-lived. Maybe quasi-immortal, but they can be killed. And when they are killed, they go into the realms of one of the other first mothers. Mother still around, or maybe not. That's an interesting thought. If all of the first mothers from the Empyrean realm are gone, it sort of leads to a crisis in the Empyrean realm where it's sort of cut off from those other first mothers. No new spirits are born into the world. And those worlds have been sort of cut free. But there's still a tether. And that tether would be Dunia, the first mother who resides in each of those worlds, but has no presence within the Empyrean realm, because she contains the Empyrean realm. Okay, so that's definitely, I think, where we're going to end up going. She is the bridge back. And the important quest, the important mission for this is not just for the characters to find their way back, but to find a way to bring the first mothers back with them. Because in order to save the universe, the multiverse, the First Mothers have to be within the Empyrean realm. All right, so I think that's the way we're going to go with that. That makes a lot of sense. What I need to figure out at this point is the fourth First Mother. Not Dunia, because Dunia is the Empyrean realm. And she is 4 characters within the other First Mothers. But we have Orta, Sierra, Olean, Dunia, and now the 4th one, which I have sort of already taken the liberty of doing a little Google Translate and seeing if I could find a word that worked. And Mira is what I'm going to go with. Mir is Russian for world. Miri is worlds, plural. But I don't want to do directly Russian. Like Orta is, O-R-T, is a German word, I think, for lands or realms or worlds. But I don't want it to be German. I want it to be, so I changed the spelling. Sierra is land as opposed to sea in Greek, but it's X-I-R-A is the Romanization of it. I'm doing I think I'm translating, I might use that translation, but I also might change the X to a C. And might double the R, Sierra. Olean is actually a sort of a smash up of 2 words. I think Lien was like tar or oil in Finnish or something like that. And Oli was land or something like that. I'm a little vague because that's a note that's lost on the hard drive. So, but I've sort of like bastardized and altered them so that they're not like somebody who sees them are not instantly going to go, oh, that's Russian for world. I want it to be different enough that it's not quite right. And so it would be missed. So Mira is the world that I need to work on. Because we've got the secret 5th First Mother. We've got the first 3. It's that 4th one we will need to figure out. And I have a series of story projects that I have in my notes for, I've had it for years that I can dig through. I had built a list of 12 options. One of them was Medusa's, which we're using for Sierra. One of them was Cast in Stone, which I'm hesitant to use because I don't feel it's quite right fit. And then there was Satyrs and Cyclopses, which that could work with some adjustment, but I'm also feeling like that's not really where I wanted to go with this. Like each of these worlds has partnered well enough with the base universe, but different enough. Sentinels, Serpent's Children, and what was I calling the 4th one? Oh, the Merc Riders. That's what it. See, my memory still has it. It's there. It's just sometimes it takes a little retrieving. But the Merc Riders were the symbionts, the parasites that are like Venom from Spider-Man, and that setting Each of them has their own unique feel, but they carry over some of the setting from the Empyrean realm, and they do it well enough that they feel like they're meant to be together. I don't feel like the Cyclops and Satyr story is that, and I certainly don't feel like the Cast in Stone setting is meant for that. So I have to try to see if I can remember, and I might dig back through the video archives and see if I had showed or talked about my list of options for other settings further back in the new year, or it might have been even last year. Maybe. So I will have to do that tonight. It's 46 minutes in, so I managed to use a fair amount of time tonight. But for now, and check in tomorrow. Until then, copy, paste. Take care and have a good night. And we'll be playing with this a little bit more tomorrow. I might delve a little bit into some of this if I have anything to report tomorrow. Otherwise, we're going to start playing with some of these, rewriting the rewrites of fiction based off of TV and movies and books. Until then, catch you later.